about day 3. Okay? So, as I said, in our tutorial video for the first video that I made, no, accounting is a process, it's a cycle. So, we follow steps in order for us to come up with the main outputs of the accounting cycle, which is what's the main output or the main product of the accounting cycle? These are the financial statements. So we have 4 financial statements. So for us to prepare those financial statements, we need to follow those steps, no? Those process. So we have the first one, identification of events to be recorded, and then the second one is journal entries. And after preparation of journal entries, you now are ready to prepare the ledger. So that's what we are going to discuss for this day. So you have posting to the ledger and preparing trial balance. So I know that this concept or these lessons are not new to you. It's because we already discussed this last semester. So we have here our lesson objectives. The first objective that should be able to accomplish at the end of the discussion is 1. Post transactions to the ledger, and 2nd, prepare trial balance. Now, as your guide questions along our discussions, during our discussions, in order for you to achieve these learning objectives at the end of the lesson are the following. How to post transactions to the ledger, how to prepare trial balance. What is a ledger and what is a trial balance? So, dapat mauto ang questions ni utang nyo sa imong mind along the discussion. So, let's try then to answer those questions at the end of the discussion. Okay? So, to recall, the first step in the accounting process is to identify transactions to be recorded. Okay? So, because not all business activities are considered to be accounting transactions. And after identifying those events, you are now ready to journalize transactions or to prepare journal entry. So that's the first recording phase of the accounting process. And after journal entries, you are now ready to prepare ledger. So what is ledger? So here is a definition of the ledger or the general ledger. Now, the information being provided by the journal or the journal entries is very limited. Now, wala pa kay makuha as to the unsay nahitabo sa mga finances ti business. It's because dili pa hanay ang pag-record no sa mga accounts. Wala pa summary, wala pa i-classify ang accounts. And that's the purpose of the general ledger. The purpose is to classify and summarize transactions. It's the reference book and it's a grouping of the entities' accounts. Because sa journal entry, per day pa mong per transaction pa ang recording dagto. And for example, si cash na kay record ni on the first day for cash, and the second day na napoy another debit, for example, and then the third day there will be a credit amount for credit account for the cash. So dili gid nimo pa mahimo makita kung pila gyud ang balanse ni cash in the journal. Now here's a general ledger. Those questions like what is the cash balance? What is the accounts receivable balance for the specific period? What is the total income of the business for the specific period? Those questions can be answered by the journal ledger. Okay? So you just have to remember that journal ledger is a reference book and its purpose is to classify and summarize transactions. So out from the journal ledger, you can actually prepare a basic financial statements. Okay? So we have here the accounts in the general ledger are classified into general groups. So duha ra gyud na ka grupo ang makita nimo sa general ledger. So we have the permanent and then the temporary. What's the other term for the permanent accounts? Can you recall? It starts with letter R. These are the real accounts, and we have the temporary, starts with letter N. What's the other term for the temporary accounts? We have the nominal accounts. So the permanent accounts are the assets, the liabilities, and then the owner's equity account. And we have the temporary, which are the income and the expenses accounts. Now, why are assets, liabilities, and owner's equity are permanent? It's because these account titles will not be closed at the end of the accounting period. Unlike with the temporary accounts, the income and the expenses, these account titles will be zero out or will be closed at the end of the accounting period in the preparation for the new accounting period. Okay? We will discuss this later on, more about the permanent and temporary accounts, especially in the closing entries tab. Ito ninyo mas ma-appreciate kung unsa yung mga permanent o temporary accounts. Okay? So, we have here, each account sa general ledger has its own record. Okay? So, for example, makakita ka og cash, accounts receivable, office supplies, equipment, and we have accounts payable, notes payable, ng account titles, we have the capital, we have the income expenses. Each of that account title mentioned has to have a record in the ledger. And the very basic format of the ledger is actually the T account. Ano gitawag man siya T account? It's because ang iyang format, yung itsura kang wag T, right? So here, as you can see on the top, we have the account title. So for example, ang account title kay cash, dari may sulat si cash. And on the left side, we have the debit account. And then on the right side, we have the credited account. Okay? So can you recall this one? So again, top is the account title, left, debit account, and then right is the credited amount. Okay? So we have here, what is the term that refers as the process of transferring the journal entries to the ledger account? Sa ko tawag sa pag-transfer, no, gikan sa imong journal entry, isulat nimo itong account sa ledger. It starts with letter P. Can you guess? Yes, very good. That's posting. Posting day ang tawag sa process sa pagsulat sa journal entry to the ledger. Kung i-post nimo ang journal entry to the general ledger. So this is the process, no? Example, this is the journal entry for on May 1. We have debit cash 100,000 and credit owner's capital 100,000 and the explanation initial investment. So we can say that this journal entry is the first journal entry for the period, no? So it's because aside from it happened on May 1, there's an explanation that states initial investment of the owner. Okay? So, the process, again, of transferring these accounts to the general ledger is called posting. So, we are going to post this account title and the amount to the ledger. So, we have to prepare first one P account for cash and one ledger account for owner's capital. So, you have to write on top, for example, cash. You have here top, right, cash. And then, pwede naman isulat dari sa left side ang date, for example, May 1, and then the debited amount, which is 100,000, you have to write on the left side of the T account, which is the debit side. Okay? Manong dari mo nato gisulat again sa debit nga part, it's because, or sa left part, it's because debit man siya. Okay? Again, left debit, right credit. Gets? Okay? So, after the preparation of the ledger for cash, we are now ready to prepare the ledger account for owner's capital. So, we have here, we have to write the account title, owner's capital on top, and then we have the 100,000 here as credited amount, and we have to write it here sa right side, sa T account. It's because kanilaging right is the credit, and then the left side is the debit. So we have 100,000 and we have to write it here. Dili pwede dari sa left side si 100,000 under owner's capital. It's because from the journal entry, we write it as the credited amount under owner's capital. So I know it's not that difficult, no? You just have really to be careful. No? Kung gidebit siya nimo sa journal entry, dapat ibutang nimo siya sa left side sa T account. Okay? So you just have basically to follow, to refer to the journal entry. So you should do the process until all the journal entries are posted to the ledger. So kung, let's say for example, for a 1 month accounting transaction, so you have 30 entries and you have, let's say for example, mga 20 account titles ang nagamit nimo, gi-journalize nimo, and then you have to prepare 20 account titles, 20 ledger account for each account title. Okay? So, for example, here we have, for cash lang sa ni atong i-use as an example. This is half-month transaction for cash. We have May 1, we debited cash amounting 100,000. On May 2, we credited cash amounting 5,000. On May 10, we debited again cash 15,000. On May 15, we credited cash 5,000. So kung i-prepare na to ang ledger account or T account for cash, we have to write the account title on top, and then let's start posting these journal entries or this amount to the T account. For example, May 1 cash 100,000. So of course, we have to write this 100,000 sa left side sa T account because it signifies debit amount. Okay? 100,000, 100,000. So on May 2, we've credited 5,000 under cash account. Therefore, we have to write it on the right side. Sulat na to siya sa right side. It's because credit man. Okay? Naman siya sa credit column during sa imong pag-journalize sa transactions. Okay? And next, we have on May 10, cash debit 15,000. So, we have to write 15,000 sa left side sa T account. Okay? So, 15,000 yun. Hindi pwede dari. It's because dari sa imong journal entry, naka-debit man siya. Okay? I'll erase it for a while. Next, we have cash credit 5,000. So, we have to write it here sa right side 5,000. Okay? So, from May 1 to May 15, we only have 4 transactions involving cash account. So, after that, kung humana ka tanan og post sa mga amounts under the account title, we are going to do footing, no? Yung kag footing, you are going to add all the amount here sa debit column and then debit side rather, and then we have to add as well sa credit column. So we call the process as footing because as per definition, a footing is the final balance when adding all of the debits and all the credits in accounting. Okay? For example, in debit column, we have 100,000, 15,000. So we just have to add this one. We have 115,000 and 5,000, 5,000, 10,000. So, ito silang ibangga to get the balance. So, 115,000 minus 10,000, we get 105,000. Sorry, anong dari man siya gibutang sa debit nga side? It's because asa man ang mas dako sa duha, 115 or 10? Of course, 115 debit side, 105,000. Meaning to say there is a debit balance of 105,000 under the cash. So let's say for example, kung bali siya 115,000 dari sa credit, 10,000 dari, and then we have to write it here. Okay, dari nga column. Kung asa ang mas dako, i-minus nimo ang ilang balanse, and then you have to write the balance or the difference under the side nga mas dako. Okay, ang ilang final balance. And then this is the balance for the account title. And you should do the same process for all the account titles na imong gi-journalize sa inyong journal. Okay? Now, let's say for example, these are the journal entries for May 1 to May 15. So, dapat na kay isa ka ledger account for owner's capital, for office supplies, for office equipment, for accounts payable, service income, and salaries expense. Because, as I said, each account title under the journal entries must have one account ledger as well para makita nimo ang summary kung unsa nay tabuan ang account title. So if we are to prepare ledger for these entries, we have this one. Okay, for cash, 105,000, the example a while ago. We have office supplies, 5,000, asa man siya gikan on May 2. Say here, so we have on May 2, we have debit office supplies amounting 5,000. Therefore, we have to put 5,000 on the left side because from the journal entry, we debited 5,000. Okay? And then, we also have here office equipment. From the journal entry, we have journal entry for office equipment, debit 150,000 on May 5. Therefore, in here, debit 150,000. You also have for accounts payable, 150,000. Credit, 150,000 on May 5. We also have here service income, 15,000 on May 10. Therefore, pag abot nimo sa imong ledger, you have service income, 15,000 on May 10. And lastly, for salaries expense, we have 5,000 debit. Therefore, it must be on the left side, 5,000. Okay? As you can see, as you may observe, ang gakahitabo sa mga account titles, kung asa na may iwatang yung amount, usually sa yung normal balance. What is the normal balance again for cash? We have the debit, right? Dayon, kung mabutang mo siya sa credit column, buto sa bot, that's a decrease, that's a deduction. Okay? So for office supply, same is true, pero isa raman ka-amount ang gi-post na ni 5,000, you just have to copy 5,000. Same with office equipment, 150,000, 150,000 na ganyan yung balance as of May 15. Accounts payable, owner's capital, service income, 5,000, all have one posting, no? So for example, no, we have here for service income, let's say for example, on May 16, nadugang ang 10,000 here, so you just have to add 15,000 plus 10,000, therefore, on May 16, ang balance sa service income kay 25,000 na ba yun? Add din mo siya. So, add din mo ang all amounts per column, and then you have to, what do you call that process? Footing. And then you have to get the difference between the debit and then the credit column, and then add mo isulat again yung balance, whichever side is higher. Kung asa ang mas taas, dito mo isulat ang iyang balance. Okay? So, is it clear? I hope it's clear. Now, the T account is just actually a basic format in preparing ledger. We actually have here a 3 columns format, and this is what I really want to introduce and teach this to you, and I really want you to use this 3 columns format. It's because only ang ginagamit sa pag-take sa NC3, or this is actually more formal than the T account. Although the same naman good gihapon ang imong makuha, no, at the bottom the balances or the balance of the account. Pero in here sa new ledger manggod, it's more formal. Okay, it's because unsa may nakita nimo, you have the same, of course, the account title, the date, yes, particulars. These are actually the reference, no, or the explanation, or unsa nahitabuan na transaction, kumbaga. Okay, we have the amount, the debit and credit, and then the balance, debit and credit. Now, unsa may process ani? So we have here an example. For example, cash, no? You have to write here on top cash na account title, and then you just have to write posting reference, or the PR, the amount, the balance, the date, the particulars, debit, credit, debit, credit. So, ang nadugang lang is ang PR, okay, and then the balance. Now, ang PR, dari delete ni siya ang posting reference ngayong gigamit sa journal entry sa. Instead, this is a reference from the general journal. So, let's say, for example, GJ1, that means to say, general journal page 1. Meaning to say, kaning mga transactions, makita nimo sa page 1 sa imong general journal. So, delete ni siya, makuha mo sulat na rin 101, 110, 105. No, it's not the PR nga ang buto sa bot dari. Instead, it's the posting reference coming from the general journal. So, for example, kung taas pagid kaayo, dagan pa kay mga transaction ni cash, then niabot ka og page 2 sa imong general journal, therefore may mo siyang GJ2 or general journal page 2. Kung taas pagid kayo GJ3 hangtod kung pila ka pages niabot ang imong journal entries. Okay? So we have here, let's say for example, on May 1, from our T account, we have 100,000 debit, May 1. So, remember that this 100,000 is the initial investment. So, balik ta dari. Initial investment, right? 100,000. Initial investment. Ang iyang gi-credit ka owner's capital. So, we have to write here, 100,000 May 1. Napag-abot sa 3-column format, select kag date, particulars, asam nigi ka ng 100,000 sa owner's capital. Just have to write the, pwede na put account title, no? Nakato yung gi-credit. You have owner's capital, GJ1, it's because general journal page 1, and then the amount 100,000, the balance. So sa may balance dari, that's actually mo take effect kung naa kay credit or naa kay additional debit. Pero on May 1, isa pa man ka entry, kanira man nga entry, no? So we have 100,000 debit, and then the balance is you have to write here also sa debit nga side or debit column. Okay? So next is we have on May 2, office supplies. 5,000 credit. We have 5,000 credit here nasa right side sa T account nimo. So, unsa man nahitabo aning 5,000 on May 2, imong gipalit og office supplies. Asa siya makita sa imong general journal page 1. So, credit, therefore palabot dahil sa imong amount, dili nimo siya isulat sa debit. It's because it's credit. Isulat nimo siya sa right side. Therefore, you have to write 5,000 here sa credit, and then you have to get the balance. So, from the previous balance, you have 100,000. Remember that when you credit cash or asset, that means to say nga mugamay na ang kanang account, ang kanang asset account. So we credit 5,000, therefore we have to minus 5,000 from the 100,000 to get the balance. So we have 5,000 minus 100,000, we get 95,000 as the balance of cash on May 2. Nakuha? So 100,000, nag-credit tag 5,000, credit man siya, debit, debit, credit, minus. 100 minus 5,000, 95,000. Now, on May 10, we have your 15,000, right? 15,000 is actually for service income, meaning to say, the company rendered service and collected cash. Okay? So, there is a new ledger format, 3-column format. You just have to write as well the 15,000 under the debit column, 15,000 still in general journal page 1, kaya ikatulo po mo siya nga entry, right? So you have 15,000 here, debit. So unsa may mahitabo? Kung i-debit nimo ang cash with 15,000, makulangan or madugangan? Madugangan, because it's debit. Well, when you debit the account according to the rule, when you debit the account, that means to say the account increases. Okay? So you have from 95,000 nga balance as of May 2, kung tigidugangan ni mo 15,000 on May 10, may mo siyang 110,000. 95,000 plus 15,000, you now have 110,000 pesos. Okay? And then, lastly, we have from our general journal 1, we have the salaries. We have 5,000 here, May 15, meaning to say, the business paid its employees, iyang gipasilduan ang iyang mga tao, amounting to 5,000. So, napagawas og kwarta si business, that means to say, credit 5,000, credit 5,000, and that means to say, minus, no? Minus, deduction from your previous balance. So, our previous balance here as of May 10 is actually 110,000. We credited 5,000 because we paid our employees, the business paid its employees, no, as salaries, no, salaries payment, salaries expense. Therefore, 110,000 minus 5,000, we get 105,000. So, as you can see, the same magyapon og balance kung gamiton niyo si T account o si 3-column format. It's just that it's more formal ug mas ginagamit siya sa mga businesses kaning format. Okay? Pero simpler ug mas dali buhaton ang T account. But I am really encouraging you to use this 3-column format because kung mo take lagi ka og NC3, mo ni ang gamiton dili ang T account. Okay? So, crucial lang gid nga part is you have to be very careful sa dali sa balances. Again, if for example asset 100,000 yung first na debit, kung nag-credit ka minus, kung nag-debit ka plus, pag nag-credit na pud ka minus until you arrive to your balance. Okay? And you have to do this sa tanan nga accounts because it's a ledger. Okay? Diba? So, diba mas dali ang T accounts pero dili siya nga naka-formal. So, that means to say, kung naka 20 nga mga account titles ang igamit sa journal entries or they-journalize, then 20 pod kabog yung buhaton nga 3-column format nga ledger. Okay? So, we have here, after preparation of the 3-column format or the ledger, by the way, you can actually find or you can see more examples of it sa inyong activity sheets. Okay? So you have here the trial balance. Now, after the ledger, after posting the journal entries to the ledger, kung man nakatanan og post, then pamati ni mo nga okay naman siguro ni, but you're not that sure. Now, here comes the trial balance. Ano sabi si trial balance? The trial balance actually, this is just a tool. This is just a step to check the equality. Ang purpose ani kay to check the equality of debit and credit balances of all accounts. So it's not really part of the accounting cycle, but it's helpful to see kung sakto ba, equal ba yung debit and credit balances. But one of the limitations si trial balance that even though balance siya, dili put assurance nga sakto or accurate ang mga gipang posting sa ledger. So you just have really to double check and be extra careful on, again, posting the journal entries to the ledger. It's because ang gina-provide lang na information ni trial balance is to check the equality, kung equal ang gid ba si debit o credit balances. Because trial balance, the debit and trial balance, the debit and credit column must always be equal. Okay? Kaya kung di na equal, there must be something wrong from your journal entry to your posting, to your footing, and until writing those accounts balances to your trial balance. Okay, what's the process in the preparation of trial balance? We have here, first you have to write the name of the business, title of the report, and the period covered by the report. So there are three lines on top, no? Pangalan sa business, title of the report, and then the period covered by the report. And then next, you have to prepare columns for account titles. We have column for account titles, posting reference, the debit and credit balance of each account from the ledger. So you can actually see 4 columns here. So for example, we have here, this is the example. We have the account titles here, the posting reference, we have the debit and credit columns. On top, we have the name, for example, Salvino Accounting Firm, the name of the report, unadjusted trial balance. Why is it called unadjusted? It's because wala pa man kay adjusting entries. Until naana kay mga adjusting entries and na-post na siya sa ledger, na-generalize and na-post yung sa ledger, we're going to make a new trial balance which we call as the adjusted trial balance. So there are necessary adjustments, but that's for the next meeting. Okay? So, and then on the third line, we have here the period covered. For example, for the month ended May 2020. Again, we have the first column, account titles, posting reference, debit, and credit. Now, what's the process? Let's say, for example, you have here the ledger. All the journal entries are posted to the ledger, and now we are ready to prepare trial balance. So, simple lang yung step. It's just a simple process, no? So, let's say, for example, here, nakasulat na ka sa, sorry for that. So, for example, here, nakasulat na ka tanan account title sa posting reference, and then kulang nimo kay mga amount for the debit and credit column. So, you just have to refer here sa yung ledger. Let's say, for example, cash, you have 105,000 debit. Therefore, pag abot na ni, si cash yung pinakauna isulat, all the asset first, liabilities, sa income and expenses. Dapat ang pusit sa mga account title sa trial balance. So, cash 105,000 debit under debit column. It's because from the general ledger, 105,000 man ang balance ni cash under debit side. We have office supplies, 5,000 ayaw sa debit. Therefore, pag-abot sa imong trial balance, under debit yapon si office supplies. And then we also have your office equipment, debit yapon na siya sa left side. So, pag-abot na rin ayaw sa left side si 150,000 for the office equipment. And for the accounts payable, we have 150,000 credit. It's because it's on the right side. Same is true with the income, 15,000 the capital. Okay? Therefore, we have to write those account balances here is a credit column. 150,000, owner's capital, 100,000, service income, 15,000. And then we have the salaries expense. From here, we have 5,000 on the debit side. Therefore, pag-abot sa trial balance, you have to write 5,000 on the debit column. So, Kung mas dagan ang account titles, mas taas ang imong trial balance down there. Okay? And after that, you have to get the total. Okay? Get the total for debit and credit and see to it na equal ang amount for debit and credit. So, you have to double rule. So, I actually, by the way, pag dali sa imong general ledger, dapat i-double rule po din yung mga balances. For me to see or for you to see nga muna na ang final niya nga balance, mo po na imong gamiton sa pagsulat danhi sa trial balance. Okay, so for our example, we have 265,000 for the debit column and then we have 265,000 for the credit column. That means to say that equal ang atong ang debit and credit posting in the ledger. Okay, but then again, it's not really an assurance na sakto ang atong gibuhat because not all balances or not all balance trial balance is correct or accurate. Okay, and ang may tabuan is that kung sayop ang imong balance lagi ka pero incorrect ang imong amount, so there must be something wrong with your journal entry and ledger. It might be na kay wala na journalize or na kay usa ka entry, usa ka transactions na wala nimo nabutang sa journal ledger. So there are some reasons, okay? So rules of trial balance, these are the rules. Number 1, all assets must be put on the debit side. All liabilities must be put on the credit side. All income must be recorded on the credit side. All expenses must be recorded on the debit side. Okay? Assets, debit side. Liabilities, credit side. Income, credit side. Expenses, debit side. Okay? And again, una nimo isulat under trial balance, assets, liabilities, capital, income, expenses, dayon. Okay? So that's it for our trial balance and for our ledger. So I hope that you've learned something for this day. I really apologize if there are some noises, no? Makadistract sa inyo. I'm sorry. It's because I don't have that mga gadgets or headphones na pwede mag-cancel sa noises. But I'm really hoping that you've learned something from this video. Okay, so that's it for this day. I hope that you're doing well and you're safe sa inyong mga balay again and again. Muna ang pinaka-importante yan. There's always a time for everything. So take time to relax, take time to be with your family. Dili lang kay i-occupied na ito ang atong mga selves sa pag-eskwela, okay? So you just have to, ang sekreto lang yun is that you have to answer all your activity sheets during our scheduled classes. Okay? So let's go back to our learning objective. Our learning objective again is, where is it? Post transactions to the ledger and then prepare trial balance. So can you now prepare or can you now post transactions to the ledger and can you now prepare trial balance? I'm sure you can do it. Okay? If you want some examples, you can actually make use of your activity sheets. So that's it. Goodbye, everybody.